And good evening, YouTube. This is the old soldier coming at you live, not Memorex, commercial, from Parkton, North Carolina, just south of the town of Parkton, North Carolina, here in Robeson County. Been a bit warm today, but we're back to, we're going to call it Poetry and Prose with the Old Soldier, or Poetry and Prose Monday with the Old Soldier. Before I do that, I've been meaning to do this for quite a while. Need to give some shout outs to some new subscribers, starting with Terry Christ, Boston Girl, William Mock, by the way, one of my old Army buddies, the Lumi Channel, Becky Stiles, and this last one, forgive me if I get it wrong, Ebomey, Ebomey. Thank you all for subscribing to my channel. I'm very humbled that you would reach out and do so. I certainly appreciate it very, very much. But on Mondays, we try to reserve today to read poetry. And I'm trying to decide which one I want to read out of the book. It's a good question. And if anybody's out there watching, chime in over on the side chat. Let me know you're there. While we're looking through the book of poems to read, I would like to everybody to take a moment to remember and pray for the families of hello, Lever Guns 50. Good to see you, my friend. Remember and pray for the families of the law enforcement officers that were killed this past week and this past weekend, as they have gone on to their last call and have given their last full measure to protect their communities and those around them. Sad. So let's see, what do we want to read? Which poem, which poem, which poem? Lever Guns, you want to hear something on life, love, or liberty? Hello, my friend. How you doing, brother? I haven't forgot to call you. I've just been busy like you wouldn't believe. Let's see. We can pray for, let's see, a prayer for the fallen warrior forged by trials, tomb of the unknown. Let us see, let us see, let us see. Trying to make up my mind which poem I want to read. I will do my very best, Warsaw, as long as Mrs. Old Soldier doesn't give me another honeydew list. Hey, Pro Carry Trucker, how are you, my friend? You see where I put the patch on my jacket? Told you I was going to get it on there. Trying to decide which poem to read here, folks. Da, 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 da. Yeah, I know. I'm boring everybody. My apologies. Just trying to figure out which one I really want to read. Well, Pro Carry, you be careful out there on the roads, my friend. Well, folks, it ain't Christmas, but we're going to read about Christmas. And the title of this poem is Christmas Eve Until They All Come Home. It's Christmas Eve. The stockings are hung. Presents under the tree. All is well, or so it seems. A mother settles her young. Off to bed, she says to them, for Santa has started his run. So say your prayers and give thanks for this home. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to keep. Bless mommy and daddy, my brother and sister too. And please let daddy come home soon. For in a far-off land he does serve, protecting us in our country from the evil that lurks and those who would do us harm. Ever vigilant he is that Christmas is safe for each and every one. This, O Heavenly Father, I do pray every night and each day, until every soldier comes home to family and loved ones, safe and unharmed. I wrote that to remember those that, are away from home. Each and every year, it seems like for so many years now lately, I've had to spend Christmas and Thanksgiving away from my family. Anniversaries missed, birthdays missed. I missed my son's very first birthday because of the service. But why? Why? Why is the question? Because of love of country, home, family, and a desire to protect them. And it takes love to make a sacrifice like this, to miss these important events in one's life. And again, I've missed a few of these from my time as serving. I was blessed. I was very blessed that I didn't miss as many as some of my other friends. I have one friend in 9 years of service was deployed 7 times. Now let's do the math here. 7 times in 9 years. Yeah, you have R&R. There's the morale calls and internet, but it's not the same as being there. And again, we spend time away from kids, our spouses, our friends, family. But it's because I love them and we love them. We did this in order to keep them safe and protected. And right now, I would ask everybody to remember that this very moment, this very hour, somewhere, either at a military post stateside or overseas or in a combat zone, there stands a young man or a young woman that stands between us and those that would do us harm on this very day. So take time to remember them and know that they do it, that we might remain free and protected. Thank you, Warsaw. Love you, brother. Mean it. And with that further note, we can take that a bit further to our own local level. Not that they spend countless days and months away from home, but they do spend long hours away from home. And that's the men and women of our law enforcement, our EMS, our first responders. They too make sacrifices. And they too put their life on the line each and every day. And this past weekend and this past week is evident proof that so many walk into situations and not knowing what they're going to encounter. And I guess it burns my bacon this weekend for especially the New York City police officer that was killed with his own firearm in a struggle. Are the police perfect? No. But guess what? I ain't a perfect person either. And this hatred of our police has to stop. But anyway, I wanted to share, like I said, Mondays I'm going to be doing live. Every Monday will be a live poetry somewhere between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, depending on what Mrs. Old Soldier has me doing on her honey-do list. I tease her, but and now I got my new job, my hours. Folks, I guess that's something else I need to share with you folks. If you didn't know, I did get on with the school that I graduated from back in May. I am now a adjunct part-time instructor at the local community college. It is the best part-time job that I could ever imagine. I get to work 15 hours a week, roughly. And for what I was working for the electric company at 40 hours a week, I am making in 15 hours a week teaching. So, very happy. Warsaw, the National Guard is its own department, because you have two types of National Guard. You have the Air National Guard, which falls under the Department of the Air Force, but you also have the Army National Guard. What I mean by that is there's the National Guard Bureau, and the National Guards will fall up under either the Air Force or the Department of the Army if they become federalized. When they're not federalized, they answer to the governor of the state first. And then you have the reserve components. The reserve components are a federal component. Your National Guards technically belong to the state first, but they are partially funded by the federal government because they have certain federal requirements they have to meet, as far as doctrine and training, things like that. But believe it or not, the National Guard, they're the ones that will always be called out first and foremost during an emergency situation within the state. That's where the National Guard would call on to them. The Marines don't belong to that. There's no Marine National Guard, like I said. The Marines have a reserve component, though. But see, the whole purpose behind the National Guard, we could stem back to the National Guard Act of 1912. Shortly after the Spanish-American War, that was the last war we had what was called a call for volunteer regiments, and the states raised these volunteer regiments. After that, the National Guard Act was passed, and states were basically required to fund and man a National Guard type organization that would answer the governor first and foremost, but upon order of the president could be activated and put into federal service, and then become a branch of the federal army, federal military. I'm doing okay, Mr. Woodworker. Like I said a couple weekends ago, though, kind of scared the family with a little virus that got me. But glad to see you back. Glad to see you in the conversation on the side chat. Glad to have you. If you don't know who I'm talking to, folks, it's the board woodworker. I'm sorry, woodworker. I need new glasses. I got to get an exam set up here soon. But glad to have you. Thank you for joining the conversation. Yeah, I was a bit under the weather. Kind of went to bed that Friday night, got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and started shaking and shivering in Warsaw. And by midnight and 12:30, I could not stop and couldn't control it. But no fever at that point in time. So my son said, "Dad, I'm calling an ambulance," and I was just too out of it to care. And so they got there, and when they finally got there and took my temperature, I was running. I had a small fever, low grade, 99. Got in the ambulance and hurled supper, and when I hurled the supper, my temperature went from 99 to 102. By the time they got me to the hospital, it shot up to 103.5. But my shakes and shivers went away. Go figure. And so the doctors chalked it up to a 24, 48-hour virus. I went back to work Monday. Wasn't 100%, but I was feeling, tremendously better. It's that time of year, though, folks. And especially now that I'm teaching school, I'm exposed to a lot of what these kids are bringing from home and other things, too. Well, the board woodworker, we will be praying for you, my friend. We will be praying for you. I've been down the road that you're talking about, and I know some things are not always easy, my friend, but we will keep you in our prayers, and that God will intervene and take care of you. You're more than welcome, sir. You are more than welcome. Yeah, pneumonia is no fun. I've had bad bronchial infections before, borderline pneumonia. But yeah, now you get pneumonia, you definitely need to take it easy. But yeah, back to the part-time job, folks. I was, when they called me this summer about this gig, I was really humbled. One and two, I enjoy it because I like mentoring the young people. Um, so yeah, it's been so far. I'm into my third week of it. Uh, how they pays a little squirrely. I've worked an entire month, but I won't get my first paycheck till the end of this month because of the way they do it. So, be a little tight this month, but we'll get through, Lord willing. The creek don't rise. But then that payday will just be that much more rewarding when it comes in. But like I said, I'm really in it for the fact of being like I get to work with young people. I will check him out, Warsaw. I will certainly check him out. Thank you for that tip. Board woodworkers, please stay on top of that. Please stay on top of it. Keep us posted and abreast of how you're doing. I'm glad to see all y'all were watching when I popped up. That's pretty cool. Um, who else is out there? I gotta go in the side chat and see who else has popped in. Thought I saw somebody else pop up and I didn't get a chance to acknowledge them. I want to make sure I say hello. Lever Guns, Warsaw, Pro Carry Trucker, the Board Woodworker. Okay, I guess I got everybody that's on here so far. If anybody's been following my Instagram, I've had a few posts there too. One where I did some boot maintenance this weekend. Had to break out all my old Army foot gear and give them a good polishing and going over. Um, and if you go to my page, I've got a link to my Instagram account if anybody wants to click on and follow that as well. Come over and check out things I put on Instagram as well. I'd love to have you there as well. Warsaw, that'd be awesome. That would be awesome. Board woodworker, you're spot on, sir. When I retired from the Army in 2009, initially I thought my fatigue would eventually go away, along with some of the other things I was having symptoms with. And it didn't. And some people chalked it up, well, you're just out of shape. Oh, I was in the Army for 22 years. I mean, I did PT almost every day. You can't really say that one. Well, it must be this, must be that. And it stinks when nobody will listen to you. But then when they can't nail it down as to what it is, that's the other thing. And I have a nephew who has two of them. His oldest sister has passed. He's got another sister. Both of them, I want to say it's through their father's side. They have different. My nephew and his sisters have different fathers, but it's through the girls' fathers that there was a recessive gene or trait that once both of them had children, it triggered it. And the name of the disease is called Friedreich's ataxia, and it's a lot like, how do I explain it? It basically degrades the nervous system to eventually the point they can't, the nerves in their body do not respond to what the brain is saying. Mr. Woodworker, you go enjoy your meal. If it's anything like steak or baked potato, call me and I'll be there in a minute to eat. But you go enjoy your supper, sir. Hey, Willie the Bullet Man, good to see you here, sir. Glad you could join us. We're just sitting here chit-chatting after I read my poem. You'll have to watch the video and rerun to catch the poem. But glad to have you with us, Willie. But yeah, I have suffered from chronic fatigue and chronic pain. I've got arthritis. Uh, I've had a major fusion of the lower back, the L5S1, and I've had a fusion of my neck, C5 through 7. So yeah, I've had a few issues along the way, but I have a dead virus in my blood that my body's constantly attacking with what they got Epstein-Barr virus, and I'm one of the small percentage of people that, for some reason, my body continues to attack the antigens that, or my body produces antigens to attack the virus, even though the virus is dead. About an hour, Warsaw. Yeah, Willie, it's part of airborne bones. I did smack a drop zone a time or three. Like a sack of bricks. I've always been kind of a big man, so yeah. But also jumping off trucks onto howitzers. I was in artillery most of my career. And just believe it or not, I had a sports medicine doctor in Martinsville, Virginia, that told me that running on asphalt and concrete, no matter how often I changed my running shoes, was still not good for my knees or back. Okay, Warsaw, I'll try to give you a call in about an hour or so, brother. You be careful going home. Yeah, and I've got my knees and my ankles. And when the weather changes, with the other, and like I said, when my body's attacking this dead virus in my blood, it's just that drains. You kind of feel like you got the flu or the cold all the time when it's fired up and they're attacking. And it's one of the things of the Gulf War syndrome that they say is out there. Of course, the doctors here just said, well, he was exposed to Epstein-Barr virus. Well, 99% of all people in the world are exposed to that virus at some point in time in life. Why? It's the root virus for the common cold, mononucleosis, herpes, and there was one other. And your body can manifest the symptoms. But the virus, usually most people, when it runs its course, the body doesn't try to attack the virus anymore. I'm one of the few cases where my body continues to develop what they call the antigens to fight it, even though it's dead, and that's what creates the fatigue and the chronic pain in my muscles. And then I had another neurologist said, you also, by the way, got fibromyalgia. So, half a dozen one and 10 of the other. So, one of them things 3 times over, I guess you could say. So, Willie, what unit were you with, sir? I think it's just me and you on the line now, Willie. Everybody else has moved on. But anyway, folks that might be getting ready to watch this or chime in, hey, Free Spirit, how have you been? I know the feeling, young lady. I know the feeling. Um, Between working various jobs this summer, the one I've got now, and then 10 things of one and 12 of the other. So, but yeah, been busy too. Good to hear from you. Good to hear from you. How have you been feeling? Yeah, I mean, we're in an Indian summer down here in North Carolina. It seems like. I think the weather's going to get a little cooler this weekend. They're saying. I'm glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Um, I thought fall was going to come early, but then this heat wave struck us. Yeah, I think today got up to 87, but over the weekend, I think it was Saturday. Yeah, it was Saturday. It got up to 97 degrees here. 97 degrees. And then I saw where it snowed in the Rockies, but that's really not surprising because it always snows up in the upper elevations of the Rocky Mountains at some point in time. But the fact that they're saying a blizzard-like condition got everybody all hyped up in the news. Jim Beer, how are you, my friend? Good to see you here today, sir. Yeah, and folks, I'm going to try and do a better job of projecting the times that I'll be on Mondays. Like I said, that's my goal is to keep poetry to a live deal on Mondays. Now I'm kind of back into a regular routine. Um, okay, Free Spirit. I'm going to try and get back into a regular routine of doing some, so somewhere between 4 and 6 on Monday evenings Eastern time, we're going to make this a regular thing of doing poetry live. Um, Figured why not give it a try. So, and then we'll talk about anything and everything else everybody wants to talk about, um, such as the lunacy of the anti-gun community, some of their stupid ideas that are floating on right now, like trying to institute magazine capacity laws and just being stupid. But anyhow, anyway, um, to the fact that Congress is just wanting to waste all of our tax dollars over this impeachment stuff when they're not doing anything for the American people. And that's both houses, both sides, left, right, liberal, conservative, call it what you want. Or I say not liberal, conservative, but Republican or Democrat. Um, I'm just getting sick of hearing about it in the news constantly. Um, I hear all these people saying we've got the president's back, but I'm just wondering how far they're going to go. But anyhow, anyway. But yeah, Jim, you just joined us. Just telling everybody, I'm enjoying my new gig that I got, working part time as an instructor at the local community college. Um, Very excited about that. Enjoying mentoring the young people. So the money I make working part time there is about what I was making full time working for an electrical company over the summer. So less hours, more pay. I'll take that all day of the week and twice on Sunday. But other than that, just ready for fall to set in and some cooler weather. Get out and do some things. How's the weather where you're at, Jim? Yeah, I think ours got up to about 89 today here in Robeson County, North Carolina. But I was telling Free Spirit on Saturday, it got up to about 97 here. Yeah, Indian summer snuck in behind us and creeped in and hit us with a heat wave. But this weekend we're supposed to get down in the low 50s. So, hey, Luke Dog, how have you been, brother? Been a long time since East Point, hadn't it? But yeah, I think this Saturday here the low's supposed to be 53 or 52. Folks who don't know, Luke Dog is one of my best friends from the time that I was about 5 years old. And though our paths have gone different directions since I moved away from where he's at, through the beauty of social media, we were able to reconnect. Um, and he and I used to like to play all kinds of action and adventure stuff between two backyards, and there was an old pickup truck that got used as an aircraft carrier and a spaceship and a tank and a landing craft, and a lot of fun. But no worries, Willie. No worries. I was asking you earlier, Willie, what your MOS was. 45. I'll take 45. Jim, beer. I will take 45. I'd love for it to be 45 tomorrow morning. I got some nice, I got me a new fall jacket I want to start wearing more often, just because it looks cool. Yeah, you elaborated earlier about airborne knees and back. I just kind of figured maybe you'd have been in the airborne at one time. It's just a question of curiosity. Start off with 11 Boogaloo. I was old 30. Well, I started off as a 31 November. Went to the National Guard, became a kilo, and then it transitioned to uniform. And when I went back on active duty, back to the regular Army in '94, they made me a 13 Bravo. And so, pull string, gun go boom. So, cool. Cool. Hey, Miss Vanessa, how are you, young lady? How is the Air Force treating you today? Oh, we're starting to pick up a crowd here now. I love the Air Force, Vanessa. Flew me everywhere in the world I didn't want to go, and then brought me home when it was. All jokes aside. All jokes aside. Outstanding, Willie. Outstanding. I spent when I came back regular Army in '94, most of my career was with the 18th Field Artillery Brigade. 3 years in the Airborne Battalion, and pretty much the remainder with the Air Assault Battalion that we had there. I imagine, Jim. I imagine. But hey, you had to do what was right for you, brother. You had to do what was right for you. My dad wanted, but he wouldn't tell me this. My dad wanted me to go to college and become an officer, but that just wasn't what I wanted to. No, Willie. I worked with them. We had a battery, C battery, first battalion 377th, that was forward deployed to Fort Campbell out of our battalion at Fort Bragg. And when the mobile training teams would come to Fort Bragg, our battalion would normally get tasked to provide assistant instructors to help with the volume of class. And part of it was because our battalion would usually sponsor 2 to 3 of the MTTs that would come to Fort Bragg, because we were an air assault designated unit. And it was one way to save us from sending people to Fort Campbell for air assault school, or even Fort Drum. As a matter of fact, when I went to air assault school, the cadre came out of Fort Drum from 10th Mountain Division. Also, when I went to Rappel Master School. Yeah, my dad was artillery too, Jim. He was also infantry. He was infantry in World War II, and then when he came back in the Army in 1950, he'd gone in the National Guard in Maryville, Tennessee, and it was an artillery unit. And then when they got federalized for the Korean War, he stayed active duty and just stayed in the artillery. Now, Vanessa, what was your specialty in the Air Force, young lady? I know you've told me before, but I got CRS, can't remember stuff. Yeah, out of all four of my dad's boys, Vanessa, I'm the only one that made the military career. I'm back at you, Willie. I had an older brother that did 4 years and got out, and then I did 22 total, 20 active duty and 2 National Guard. So, um, but what was funny is my dad had a cousin, first cousin. Both were born on the same day in the same year. Just one was born in California and one was born in Tennessee. Okay, cool, Vanessa. Uh, Jim, I got to ride on a Navy landing craft in Puerto Rico once. Um, and then I got to go on one of them big old hovercraft when they brought us back across. We had to go down there on a training exercise, and then we had to go to Vieques to shoot. And so they took us over on an old landing craft. And then when they brought us back, they put us on one of them, they call it LCACs. Man, that thing was a wild ride, let me tell you. I fell asleep on it, and next thing you know, one of my troops woke me up and says, "Hey, Sergeant, we're here." And I'm like, "Huh?" And the whole boat was up on dry land, one of them big old hovercraft. But it's pretty cool, though. Pretty cool. Okay, I had an uncle that served on LSTs in World War II. Um, Pretty neat. They're interesting, Jim. It was an interesting ride. Like I said, I was so tired that I went to sleep when we were going across the water. Okay, got you, Vanessa. And my dad was medically retired from the Army. Had a heart attack in 1960. Uh, they come back and said, "Well, we're going to retire you at 30% permanent disability." And my dad says, "Well, if you can do that, you're going to keep me on active duty." And, he fought it. And finally, the Army come back and finally said, "We'll retire you at permanent disability at 60%. We may very well have, Willie. I don't regret my time. I mean, I regret certain things that I might have done, but we all do that. That's just life, you know. Overall, would I do it again? Yeah. Would I change some things? Certainly. I think we'd all do that if we had to do it over again, if we had that hindsight. My case example, if I'd have known then what I knew now about recruiting when I went back on active duty in '94, I'd have never let them put me in the field artillery. But hey, beggar can't be a chooser. Oh wow, Vanessa, that had to have been fun or interesting to say the least. Ooh, ouch, Willie. Yeah, Jim, that sounds about par for course in a lot of ways. Yeah, but too, when I got to my time to retire, the Army wasn't the Army that I joined back in 1987. And certainly, there was people that retired way before I did. Probably said the same thing from the time that they joined. I came in the Army during a time where some of the last of the draft generation were still serving. So, but again, like I said, I'd still go and do it again. Again though, like anybody else, there'd be things that I would change if I, could look back and say, well, I won't do that again. Like when I had to take defense utilization, packaging, and material handling class. That was 10 days of some of the driest reading and lecture I have ever had in my life. Uh, all to get certified to sign off on shipper's declaration of dangerous goods. So, yeah, once the knees go, Willie, you pretty much, yeah. I had a soldier, was it 96? I think it was 96, real foggy on the DZ itself, and did a front PLF, but his single point release harness jammed up and he couldn't lower his ruck. And so he went feet, and when he went knees, it caught his rucksack, dislocated both knees. He had to have 4 surgeries before the Army discharged him. And that was it for his career. I've had to do that contract kind of stuff, Vanessa. That's no fun. But I imagine some of the places you get to go doing that was interesting. I hear you, Jim. But I guess, this sounds funny. My jump log, I got 26, 27 jumps. And out of all those jumps, the only one I didn't walk away from was jump number 13. Go figure. Ooh, I can imagine, really. I had one platoon sergeant from the Vietnam era. This is when I was signal. When I first came in. He come up to me one day, and I had my watch on, and I used to wear my watch with a crystal face, and so you hold it like this to see it. And he said, "Turn that darn watch around." I went, and he had me put the crystal face on the inside of my wrist, and so I started wearing and to this day I still wear my watch that way. Now, whether it's a true statement as to what he had told me or not, it was something that stuck. But his whole reason was that crystal reflect. You'll get a shot by a sniper. Turn that thing around. Okay, Sergeant. I'm young PFC. So. Oh wow, Vanessa, that probably had to have been an interesting day to say the least. Well, Jim, as long as you can see the tracers, that's a good thing. It's when you stop seeing them, you got to worry. But even then, though, sitting off the coast for 6 months, I imagine it had to be hair raising at times. I bet, Vanessa. And that's the thing too. Just at Fort Bragg alone, I've seen guys hit vehicles in the middle of the night on a night jump. No matter how hard they tried, whatever the case may be. I remember one night I was on parachute detail. My unit wasn't jumping, so we were tasked to go get parachutes. They came off the drop zone, and I watched the guy land about 100 meters from me, and I heard his femur crack. You talk about just a sound that you don't ever want to ever hear again. But hearing that guy's femur bone crack or break, just you know. And the sad part, that point in time, they weren't letting the field medics carry morphine in their kits for some reason. So all they had was, you know, 800 milligram Motrin. That was about as strong as they could carry. And this poor boy, you know, his femurs broke. It didn't puncture the skin, but it protrude. You could see the protrusion, and you know, the poor fellow just screaming bloody murder. And of course, you know, it's nighttime, so everything's tactical. So the FLA shows up, picks him up, and still bounces them all over the DZ. Yeah, I've heard of that. I've seen those watch bands too, Willie. They were really, those were really popular with the South African Defense Forces. Believe it or not, just for that whole purpose. But yeah, and I've, you know, but one of the worst injuries I ever had was, believe it or not, just running PT. It was thunder and lightning outside, so I took my section into the barracks, and we were doing stairwell PT. And what I do is, you know, we 3-story building, we had them sprint to the top, and then on their way down each landing, you had to do push-ups, sit-ups, flutter kicks, and then sprint back to the top. And about the third circuit up, I cut right to go up and rolled my right ankle, and it sloped about the size of a cantaloupe. Probably one of the most painful twists of my ankle that ever had. And from that time on, my ankle's never been the same. You know, and I've twisted both of them several times, but that one I was on crutches for a week. Nothing broken, but it really put a strain on the ligaments and the muscles. So, wow, I had a good conversation with everybody tonight. But like all good things, well, if you want to call this a good thing, I'm afraid I'm boring everybody. But like all good things, folks, I gotta get ready to close this thing out. I promised Warsaw I would do my best to try and give him a call tonight. But I appreciate everybody chiming in tonight, and I'm going to try next week to get this posted, you know, where you can go on YouTube and you can put a reminder out. I got to go back and go through that whole piece again on how to do it, but to kind of set a reminder to everybody, so you kind of get the notification that at such and such time there'll be a live video, and you know, I'll read my poem, and then we'll just have a chit chat about whatever subject y'all want to talk about. But God bless each and every one of you. I really do appreciate everybody coming in tonight and talking, and the side chat has been great. Granted, it's only 7 of us right now. It's not too bad for not announcing this thing. I've had a lot of people pop in and just had a real good conversation with everybody. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Vanessa, and glad you could be a part of it. I got to figure out how they do on the other channels where you can invite guests in and have them do simultaneous. I got to look at some software to start doing that with, where, you know, if somebody else wants to read one of their poems, they can come on, we can do that, and then we can talk and go from there. But until then, until tomorrow, again, I just ask everybody, the charities I'd ask you to help out with, tunnelstotowers.org, Pin Up for Vets and Valor for Veterans. They can't do it by themselves, but if you can help them out, that would be great. And check out Robert's Custom Woodwork on his Etsy page, and also Unsung Patriot. And again, if you haven't got my books yet, the prices have lowered. Old Soldiers Poetry and Prose of Life, Love, and Liberty is now $15 on Amazon, and Thoughts from an Old Soldier is now $10 on Amazon. So if you haven't got yours yet, go order one today. It'd be greatly appreciated. But again, until tomorrow's video, everybody be blessed. Take care. Lord willing and the creek don't rise. We'll do this again next Monday. But I really appreciate everybody coming in tonight and just talking. I've enjoyed this thoroughly. So until then, folks, it's the old soldier.